Welcome back to another Habs weekly recap with hockey coach, road coach Francis Zerkley for beautiful country of Thailand. And we have two co-hosts tonight back together, Mr. Marko and Enortap from Hawkesbury, Ontario, and Mr. Enortap Zerkley from Toronto downtown.
Good evening, gentlemen. Hey, Hockey Nation. Hope everybody's having a good
everyone.
Welcome back, both of you, on the great Sunday night, October 15, 2023. Hopefully an amazing, great weekend. And, of course, we're going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens. After week number one over, we're going to talk about what's happening to them, all the news, update, injuries, everything we know, we're going to sharing with you. And, of course, we'll be there for about 90 to 2 hours with all of you. Thanks so much, everybody, to be joining us. We want to thank all the moderators to be with us. And, of course, all the people in the chat, thanks to join us on the great Sunday night. Every week, we pop up Sunday at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, p.m., talking about the weekly of the Montreal Canadiens. Great weeks overall for Montreal, 1-0-1. We're going to talk about, honestly, the game yesterday against the Chicago Blackhawks and Connor Bedard. And before we start, we would like to invite, we welcome everybody. We're going to go very quickly about this. We have a lot of talk about different subject tonight. First of all, we're going to welcome Mr. Luke Go Habs Go is in the house tonight. Welcome back, Luke. It looked like my feet is small again about this. Luke, thanks to be with our Canadian show. RJ Calabro, back in the house tonight. RJ, thanks to be with us on the great specific Sunday night. And then we have Maurice Robillard directly from Thailand. Maurice, thanks to be with our Canadian show. What about Jake McEnwee? Back in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much, Jake, to be with us tonight. RJ Calabro with all the news, gave us all the information, what's going on between the Giants and the Buffalo Bills. I don't know, you have some kind, it's fun. I didn't watch a lot NFL today. No time about that. Mr. Adam Case, I believe this is the first time, guys, Adam is with us. So welcome in the show of the weekly recap Montreal Canadiens. Adam, thanks. Hopefully you're going to subscribe and click on the likes. That'd be awesome. Our friend from Ottawa, Claude Richard, is in the house with us tonight. Thanks to be with us, Mr. Claude Richard. Hey, the driver, UPS, did not work during the weekend, but he's ready to back on the truck tomorrow morning. Mr. Gary Cournoyer, the road runner. From Manitoba, Winnipeg, with a beautiful Colette, Mr. Dan Asham. Welcome back. One strike. Two strike, Mr. Alan Vaillancourt from Kentucky. Welcome back.
He's from Kentucky? He lives in Kentucky?
Yep, we live in Kentucky with Aaron Vaillancourt, Mr. Alan. Alan Vaillancourt, Hawkesbury Hawks. Yes, he's right about this. Junior A. Kovalev du Québec, de retour avec nous ce soir. Showtime, Kovalev. We miss Kovalev. And awesome. Mr. Steve G back in the house. Steve G talk about the Colorado Avalanche. Thanks to be with us, and we appreciate it. Steve, Colorado destroy the San Jose Sharks, but not the score. On the shot, Blackwood did, and Blackwood maybe his best game of his life, his career. But he took everything for the Colorado win, beat the San Jose Sharks. I think it was 2-1, if I can recall it, the right score about that. So that's what we got, guys, so far. Don't forget to click on the like. That'd be awesome. That'd be great. So far, Sebastian is not here yet. He pop up when we talk about Gallagher. So if we don't talk about Gallagher, maybe he'll be calm. But if we talk about Gallagher, maybe something could happen about that. So that's what we got, guys. Welcome with join us, both of you. Thanks to give you time to be with the Hockey Nation show. Really appreciate you pop up every time. If you guys you don't know, for people on you, we have another show directly only for the Montreal Canadiens. It's Wednesday night. It's called the Ab Locker Room Report. And we talk only about Montreal, but the most important things. Tomorrow night, guys, we have the assistant coach at NHL. Tim Turk is going to be with us talking about could be dark and many players he teaches during the summer. And it's fun players and NHL been a coach with the Montreal Canadiens and the Carolina Hurricane and many other teams. He's still working with fun team around the world. So it'll be really interesting to get Tim Turk with us. But the subject of tonight, guys, we're going to the weekly recap. We're going to talk about week number 1, the preview and the review, and then week number 2, the preview of the week for the Montreal Canadiens. And then if you follow the Ab Nation and the Hockey Nation channel. But today we talk about the highlight recap between the between Chicago Blackhawks and the Montreal Canadiens. Montreal won by the score 3-2. And finally, of course, like I mentioned, Tim Turk is going to be with us tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. We invite you to join us. He's an NHL coach about shooting, scoring. So what he does, like he really has some kind of techniques to teach to the players to have a better angle to shoot the puck and more strength inside the release puck. Everything that's pretty amazing. I met him a couple of times at the NHL Coach Association or the Coaching Site Association meetings or seminar. Sorry. That's what happening with Tim Turk. So glad to have him aboard tomorrow night at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. And Marko D'Amico is going to be with us on November 4th. Maybe some of you don't know about Marko D'Amico, but Marko D'Amico to become an inside of the Montreal Canadiens reporter for us. He's going to talk about Montreal Canadiens during the season. He will be up 1 or 2 times per month talking about the Montreal Canadiens or prospect for the Montreal Canadiens. Some interviews he's going to make for the Hockey Nation. So we are really happy and glad to have Mr. Marko D'Amico part of our team as a co-host or host a specific show we got during season 4 of the Hockey Nation. So here we go. All the marketing promotion is over. So let's talk about everything happening with the Montreal Canadiens. Before we start, we're going to welcome a few people, if you don't mind. I know very quickly, but we have Mama. There you go. Here you go. Mama, welcome in the house. Willie Snyder back in the house. Willie Snyder from Arvada downtown in Denver is in the house. Dan asking this question, so maybe both of you going to get yes or no. Coach, do you think the Ab will do better que the Winnipeg Jets? So if they have more points, yes or no?
No. Not this year.
No, definitely not.
So we all agree with that one over there. Some people talk about could be that. We'll talk about him the next couple of minutes. Jake Maganusco talk about the Matthews. Going to talk about Matthews a bit later. Was walking fine after the game. It was not no limping. So what we heard from Gary Cournoyer, the update about Kobitak, we'll talk about him the next couple of minutes, is that where the sexy people hang out. Yeah, Abination, of course. Nothing but more sexy than Marko. So that's happening. Me and Enortap, we don't count anymore. We out. We age out.
We're older.
Yeah, exactly about that one over there. Let's go, guys. The first thing we talk at the beginning of the show, of course, we do the headlines. This is a new thing we talk at the beginning, and today we're going to have some outline. We're going to start with Mr. Marko Larabi about your headlines of the first. I tried to pick it up there, Mr. Marko, if you can a little bit, maybe patient about that. Here we go. Marko said, bad habits.
Yeah, Coach. So I guess, again, very early on here, right? But again, a lot of positive things, a lot of fun things over the first 2 games, but just a couple patterns that kind of I'm picking up on here and that maybe you want to really try to kind of get a hold on early in the season are 2 main things. Like obviously there's a lot of little subtle things, but first of all is discipline, right? So a lot of offensive zone penalties in the first couple games. a lot of stick infractions. Now we know that the officiating is a little tighter at the beginning of the season, but as a professional hockey player, you need to learn how to adapt. Based on that, they should kind of know this by now. The reason I chose Suzuki on the picture is that's 2 games in a row where he's had offensive zone sticking infractions. So not a great look for the captain there. You really want him to be leading by example. So yeah, definitely got to get a hold of the the kind of discipline, because again, the PK, which was a lot stronger in the last game, which is good, but definitely something you want to get a hold on, because you get into killing penalties, coach, and that means that you're defending more, you're blocking shots, more injuries, your good players don't get on the ice, and you lose kind of the flow of the game, right? So first thing, first bad habit to break. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, that's 2 games in a row where Montreal really had problems kind of clamping down with a lead in the third period. So against Toronto, we know that they blew a couple of leads, but a lot of pressure, 6-on-5. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but as soon as Chicago pulled their goalie, I just had this feeling that they were going to score. Montreal just didn't seem confident and aggressive, being able to kind of shut things down. So it's one of those things, you don't want that getting into your psychological makeup of your team, always feeling nervous, having a lead. These guys, we talked about what is important this year. It's learning how to play the right way. That means being able to close out games, being able to hold on to leads. Again, it's a young team, so you're going to make mistakes, but these are just things that, you kind of they're teachable moments, right? And what I've been noticing a lot, whether it's on the PK or whether it's in these 6-on-5 situations at the end of the game, they have to be a lot harder on their clears. Like so many times, like, and funny enough, Monahan was probably the one that I've noticed the most, right? Like he, in the Toronto game and in the game against Chicago, a couple times he had the opportunity to clear the puck, and just kind of like a weak little wrister right to the point man at then you get stuck in your zone, and everybody kind of starts to kind of like cycle around. So just a couple bad habits that I've noticed early on here. We'll go and get into the breakdown of the games in more detail a bit later, but just 2 things that I picked up on that I wanted to talk about.
Anaheim 3-0.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Back to back for Carolina.
Surprisingly. Here we go. Mr. Enortap, your headlines of the day, of the week, is about the Montreal Canadiens. Here's Jonathan.
Nice.
Here's Johnny. Yes. The other Jonathan, right? Jonathan Kovacevic. And really, I was looking at the score sheet over the last couple of games that they played. And what really stood out to me, and we've mentioned it on numerous occasions, but so far this year it's been magnified to me, anyways, is his consistency. A lot of times we don't even notice him out there because he's a very quiet individual. He's not a sexy player in terms of getting on the score sheet or getting a lot of points. But what he does out there is consistent. It is the right thing. It's the safe thing. And he has really played extremely well. And I wanted to sort of highlight that. Yesterday alone, he was a +3. And so far, the 2 games he's played, he's at a +5. Again, do what you think, what you want of plus minus, but I think it's difficult to ignore that stat when many other players aren't even near that mark as of yet. And he's put in his consistent minutes. Like yesterday, I think we had, I want to say, I think four of the 6 defensemen that played pretty much almost identical minutes. I think they were around 17 and a half to 18 minutes piece. So that's also a good sign, and it shows that they're very interchangeable. We're still seeing a little bit of struggle out of Harris on the right side. So, I mean, hopefully that's just something that he can adjust with time. But I'm liking what I see. I know they're making mistakes, but one guy you can constantly count on is Mr. Kovacevic, and I wanted to give him his 2 minutes of fame here.
Well deserved, yeah.
Maybe he's the next Rick Green for the Montreal Canadiens.
I think he's more like the next. I think he's more like the next Brett Kulak, right? Like,
Brett Kulak.
Some people talk about Brett Kulak. Yep, so right. Before I go I want to welcome a couple of people. François Pitt is back with us tonight. Tony Reardon is with us. Luciano Graziano knocked the door. Pierre Martin is back with us. If I forget one of you guys, we apologize. But welcome all of you. Thanks to join us on the great AB Weekly Recap. There you go. I tried to go a bit front for each one of you about that, but I go with the good, the bad, and the ugly. I tried to find a player with a cowboy hat or a Carey Price, but I cannot find any young guns. But for the good for me is look. I like the way the adversity they go through as kind of adversity. A lot of PK, and then the thread per one goal against Toronto. They come back a couple of times to try to get the lead. They not after that. The bad, they like they cannot hold the lead they got against Toronto Maple Leaf, and a very difficult play on defensive zone. It was really not always pretty during the both game, and the ugly, but is indiscipline of the Montreal Canadiens during the week. Both game, they gave 6 power play, I believe, or 7 power play yesterday, and that's what for me is the good, the bad, and ugly about that. If you talk about players, I will give you for me for the good player for me, Sean Mannion. The bad is only play one good game is Nick Zuski, and the ugly is Brendan Gallagher. So team wise and player wise. That's what my headlines are today. So, but at the end of the week, we got the great is about Montreal get a record of 101. So there was all the headline we got today for this another program of the weekly recap. Let's move on what we want to talk about tonight, guys. If you have new people pop up, we will come back. We have a couple of comments here, so I'm going to pick up a comments here, you guys, if you don't mind. A couple of people here, I can get it here. Here we go. Go back on that one. We'll go to a game recap between the Montreal Canadiens and Chicago. Do we have Monty was solid for what I have see and the recap from François Pitt. Here we go. See, this one is a little bit too bigger than that one. It's all I don't know why they make that graphic that way. One graphic to another graphic, they change the size of my of that. So it is what it is.
François yelling at us.
How to pick it up everything here. Anyhow, we're going to move on. Gary Connolly is a question does not play with the stress. Is a steady player because of that. I agree with you. Monday, play a great game. Let's go to the season for a beer then about this. Question Pierre Martin. Kovacevic was still of the deal by Ken Hughes.
Waiver. He was picked up off of from the Winnipeg Jets, if I recall correctly.
Coach, I remember. I think we were with Kagan. I think it was like right at the beginning of the season, and in our pre-meeting before the show, it took us about 5 minutes to learn how to pronounce his name, and then we were good to go. I was a little bit nervous pronouncing his name the first time we went live.
Yeah, Kovacevic, nobody knew about him, honestly, at the end of the day. Still the deal for Hughes, I would said, I know. Maybe I think someone is still for me, but it's one great for sure about
more
that.
More of a move than a deal. But
yeah. The good is Slavkovsky, the bad is Jakai, and the ugly is Gallagher from Look Good as Go. But now we talk about the Gary is in the house. Welcome back, Gary. I played great for 2 periods. They almost screw up at the end. So they talk about the game, guys. So why not to jump in for the game if you don't mind? We're going to go that way. Gap recap about this one between the Montreal Canadiens and Chicago Blackhawks. We talk a lot, guys, about Toronto, so we're going to skip a little bit that game. We're going to do a resume after this game recap. So let's start with Enortap on that one. Your game recap between the Montreal Canadiens and the Chicago Blackhawks, won by the Montreal by the score 3-2. And Mr. Enortap, you are the first one talking about the game.
Well, I thought in terms of if you break down the individual stats, I thought that they were pretty positive for Montreal. Like you look at the shots on goal, they won that category. The face-off percentages, I think, was 75-25 in favor of Montreal. I think Monahan had a fantastic day on the dot. Power play, it's the same thing. The only improvement with the special team, obviously, was the fact that we were able to kill off 7 penalties yesterday, so that was an improvement. As Coach mentioned earlier, they still have that inability to play a little bit more disciplined, and that's why they're getting the number of penalties that they're getting. Bit disappointed in the hit category, but I mean, sometimes you can't put too much stock on that. They were out hit by Chicago, including one big hit on our key guy and putting him out of action for the game, which I think really sort of changed the complexion a little bit because they had to rejuggle the lines, and that second line was really going well at the time, and also in the first game. So hopefully, we haven't heard much, at least I haven't, in terms of the extent of Doc's injury, but he was seen walking around okay after the game. So hopefully it's just a day-to-day thing, and he'll be able to join the team shortly. But it's those blunders. It's those blunders where they lose focus for some reason or other during the course of the game, and that's what's allowing teams to get back into the game. Otherwise, I would give them, so far out of the 6 periods, I'm not going to include the overtime, but out of the 6 periods, I think they probably have won 4 of those periods. But the final score doesn't kind of reflect that.
Great comments about that one, Mr. Enortap. This is a stat I got from the I don't know. I can't remember from Twitter about that. Here's a hockey stat card. Here we go. And they gave us a bit what happening during this game, who produces well, who does not do well. And you can see Mr. Enortap talk about Jonathan Kovacevic. Look, he's behind just Monahan, but he is the highest number on the best performance guys on the defensive PK impact above average. The dark and the blue or the black. And this is what Kovacevic did very well for the Montreal Canadiens, and a little bit offensive behind that. So you can see the best player for the Montreal yesterday, it was Sean Monahan. It's calculated with fun formula, with 3 fun people, and the game score and the data, and they put some kind of result at the end. You can look what David Sava done. David Sava had a really difficult game yesterday with Jesse Allen and Jake Evans. You can see the number. Marko and Enortap does not lie on that one. Honestly, that's what you got from those 3 players yesterday. Again, the Chicago Blackhawks. And that's happening. Mike Madison almost half, pretty much even. And Jordan Harris struggled a little bit on the defensive, but on the offensive, on the wrong way. But I'll give you a little bit an idea, guys, what this is all about, this chart. I really like to get this every time after the game. Mr. Marko?
Yeah, it was just interesting to see where Gallagher was on that chart. About mid-range. But yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, kind of a tough game. These games easily can be a trap game, right? Like if a lot of people watched the first 2 Chicago games because everybody had their eye on Bedard, including me. So I did watch both the game in Boston and the first game in Pittsburgh. And based on what I saw with Ottawa up 4-2, Kachuk. Yeah, like from what I saw in that game, Coach, like it was Chicago was a pretty hardworking team, right? Like Luke Richardson definitely has them pressuring the puck a lot, but they were down Taylor Hall, right? So it was kind of a tricky game to analyze, because Chicago is not really going to be a strong team this year. And then on top of that, then Doc goes down pretty early in the game. So, I think you guys Enortap pointed out most of the key things. I guess what I was most interested in seeing is how is Martin St. Louis and the coaching staff going to adapt, with the bench, right? Like moving the lines around and everything, as we see hell break loose there. So that was interesting to me to see kind of how Martin St. Louis, because let's not forget, right? Like another part of the development this year is the coaching staff, right? Like how is the coaching staff going to react in situations like that where your second line center goes down? I think overall they did a pretty good job managing the bench. They did in the past, Martin St. Louis. There's a couple occasions where he said, "I kind of lost a guy," in a situation like that. Like I didn't serve him well by kind of getting him enough minutes. So it's a challenging thing, right, to kind of make sure that everybody stays in the game. So I think St. Louis did a good job. But again, like I mentioned off the top, right, like it's discipline. Those sticking infractions, like those are just kind of lazy penalties, to be honest. Like if you just keep your feet moving, that's usually when you're not going to take penalties like that. And like I mentioned, to me, late in the game and those situations, it's just being a little harder on the puck, right? Like be hard on your clears, be more decisive in what you're doing. I'm starting to see a little bit of nerves creep in, and you don't want that to be a pattern as the season goes along. But overall, to me, again, like I think the first period they outright dominated. Remember, Coach, one thing that we mentioned that we're going to keep an eye on is Montreal in the second period with those long changes. Overall, I think they had a pretty decent second period. It's more in the third period where after they took a couple of those penalties that Chicago kind of scored that first one and they got back into the game. So overall, like, nice game. I don't put too much stock into it because it's Chicago. And at the end of the day, it was hard to read kind of the progress. Like I think Slavkovsky and Newhook kind of got lost a little bit in the lineup. Like there was after Doc went out, I think they only played one shift after that. But then in the second and third period, then they got a good rotation going. So saw Slavkovsky a little less in this game than last game, but overall.
Yeah, Marco, I'm sorry to cut you. I would say player like Gallagher, Sakoski, Caulfield, because they have 40 minutes of power play, PK, they lose their time, right? And
exactly.
As a hockey players, like your body or your routine is to go back every 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you're back on the ice constantly. But because this is a roller coaster, sometimes you don't touch the ice for 6-7 minutes, and now they pop up. Yeah, it's not like an excuse, but I just want to sharing a little bit. Sure. It's not easy.
100%.
Yeah, that's a valid point. Yeah.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people, talking about Monty. Listen, like he was good, but I don't think Chicago. I'd be curious to see what the high danger chances were in the first two periods. I don't think it was very high. Montreal did a really good job. And just Chicago didn't really have a lot going on. So, listen, he didn't let in a squeaker or anything like that. I think the first goal, just a bad break that went off Goulet in front of the net. And, it was kind of like a broken play and bang, bang. And so not really his fault there. Like he wasn't really set for that. And then the other goal, I think that was a good goal, right? So good performance by Monty, like good for him to build on. I wouldn't be surprised if, I think you guys were talking about that yesterday, because it's weird. The schedule for Montreal is a little strange to start off the season. So, Coach, I didn't hate your theory yesterday about maybe they go with Allen to play the next game just so that he's not super inactive for that long. Which is, by the way, why I thought he probably started game one, because it would have been a little bit too long for him to be idle. Everybody kind of freaked out and tried to read into what that meant. That Allen got to start in the first game, but I think it is what it is. Like, but overall, like good outing by Monty. So good to see. I think Enortap covered the special teams. Overall, I agree with some people here talking about Gallagher. Like, I think he was a little bit more fluid on the ice than the first game. I felt he was moving around the ice a little bit better than the first game. And that's kind of what we're hoping for, right? Like he's missed a lot of hockey. Let's give him about 10, 12 games to really get his legs underneath him. I still didn't. I think the puck was really, the plays are really kind of dying on a stick again, like we saw in the first game. But I felt he was moving, like he was getting himself in better position than the first game. So very slight incremental improvement by Gallagher. Let's just hope that continues in the right direction and he gets his sea legs back underneath him.
Great point, both of you, about the game. Again, Ottawa Senator. Alan Mayanko asked, would you put Pesada back in the lineup against the Minnesota while Mr. Enortap?
Yeah, I think so, because, I mean, not only for his own development, which is imperative, but he also brings a little bit more energy to that line, that fourth line, and it puts him in a bit of a situation. Like, he's not an undisciplined individual. It's not like he's going out there looking for fights. He works well with Yolonen. I've seen that in the past, and even RHP. But I suspect the lines will be changed a little bit depending on what happens with Doc. But I would definitely put him in there. I think it's time that we see him in there every couple of games or so.
But first of all, if Dak is not played, the extra player right now as the forward is Michael Pesada. They don't have to call someone from Laval to take that spot. What happening? Yeah. I believe if it's the case, they're going to use Zuski, Monahan, Newhook, and Evans. I believe if I was me, I would move up RHP 4 line to the second line with Sakoski, and I put Pesada with Evans and Ilonen on the 4 line, and I would keep Gallagher and Pearson together. You keep most of your winger the same way. So that would be the way I would see that. Yes, you can call Joshua Roy or Joan Armia or Maillet about that, but Martin Saint-Louis, the culture he built, I really believe on that. You always try to protect your players first, right? Why do you will sit Pesada and bring a player from the American Hockey League to play against the Minnesota? One, Minnesota are physical. Is a team, they have a big forward checker on the defenseman, and they have some kind of, players can play hard. So I think Pesada is, if you want to use Pesada, it's a fun game. It's a good game to play again an opponent team like Minnesota for Michael Pesada. You need to give some game. So I think, for me, I don't call anybody, and they are in Montreal all week. Anyway, they don't go nowhere. So I think there will be the red card for do that. Great point for that question for the people about this. The big question in the chat right now, guys, is about the goaltender. Who do you use Tuesday night? Jake Allen or Samuel Montembeault? So, Marco, you on the hot seat on that one.
Yeah, well, I think I just mentioned it, Coach. I'm not against the idea of using. Stützle just scored for Ottawa, so 5-2 now. I think it's just a weird schedule calendar that Montreal has right now. So, I think if you don't play Allen next game here, then you're looking at next Saturday. So there's only 2 games this week, if I recall correctly. So for me, that's a little bit too long at the beginning of the season here for him to be inactive. So I would probably go with Allen on Wednesday and then kind of come back with Monty on Saturday.
Mr. Enortap.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I think you go with Allen. You take a couple weeks where you constantly rotate the goalies. I think it takes a little bit longer for the goaltenders to get up to speed. As a matter of fact, you'll notice, with the exception of the second night, that almost all the games, if we look at the ones yesterday, they were all high-scoring games, like 5-4, 6-4, 7-4. And that's because the forwards right now are a little bit ahead of the game than the defenders and the goaltenders. So you really have to give the goalies an opportunity to both be in the net on a consistent basis before you go more with the philosophy, at least what I believe as well, and you go with the hot hand once you've established who's your true number one.
Well, son, we want to welcome the L'Ange Gardien, the Angel. Mr. Luc Lafortune is in the house, followed by Nathan Plazy is in the house. Welcome back, Nathan. Long time we don't see you, my friend. A lot of people talk about Montembeault, everything like the great conversation, great comments. We don't hesitate to talk more in the chat about your players or whatever you want to talk about. And don't forget to click on the likes. Both of you are, really right about that. And the reason why I believe you go to return with Jake Allen, I believe they don't have any goaltender number one yet. So they cannot say Montembeault is a starter and Allen is the backup, or they cannot say Allen is a starter and Montembeault is the backup. Maybe in 20 games, maybe in 25 games. I don't know when they will figure out that. That's the reason they're going to alternate for a couple of games before that. And at the end of the day, guys, if you put Montembeault Tuesday, Allen, when he's going to play against Washington, is over 11 days, I believe, 12 days. Yeah. It's a lot between. I understand. Usually you go with a backup. Or if they don't do that, Marko and Enortap, it's going to be Montembeault Tuesday and Saturday. And for me, Martin Saint-Louis does exactly protect his veterans and with the culture, exactly what Michael Peseta. I would be shocked if he brings Joshua Roy over Peseta, and I would be shocked they play Montembeault back-to-back game over Jake Allen. I don't know if we
like. I think we all agree on this one, Coach. Like it is what it is until there's a little bit more runway here, and until one goalie gives St. Louis a reason not to continue the alternation, then I think that's kind of what we're going to see, right? Until somebody is not performing, or if there's whatever, like if Allen, has an injury or something like that, or one of them has an injury. So I think, I don't think we have a goaltending controversy, which is rare in Montreal. Like, that we're kind of, really known for a goaltending controversy. I think it's pretty straightforward. Like, so yeah, I think that makes sense. In terms of calling people up, like I know, and we'll probably get into Laval here a bit later. Like I think if you watch the games, everybody's excited about Roy and kind of what he did in the first two games. But again, like you're going to call up somebody that fills a need, right? Not necessarily just the player that's kind of performing best. It's really like it's the role that player is going to need to fill. So if somebody goes down from the top six, then it makes sense to bring in somebody like Roy. But you're not going to call up Joshua Roy to play on the fourth line.
Well said. Yeah. That's exactly. Yeah. Or Marco, we said if the season is in December, you played 30 games already, and now you can, you can feel what it looked like the NHL just to taste it. I'm okay with that. Yeah. But after 1 week in NHL, I will not do that. I will go with Peseta about that. A few people knocked the door, guys. I want to welcome Mr. Russell Smith is in the house. Welcome back, Russell. We have Mark D699 back in the house. I'm sure he's smiling. I'm sure he's happy because he's the one always talk about Sean Monahan. He believes this is the best player for the Montreal Canadiens. So, Mark, I'm thinking about you all weekend. And we have Ghislain Framboise de Laval back in the house. Ghislain, thanks. And our friend from Boston with the Boston Bruins. Not going to make the playoff. They're not going to make the playoff.
Oh, Coach, one thing, by the way. Weren't we supposed to review our predictions from last week?
Oh, yeah. It's the end of the show. I select everything there. Don't worry. Don't worry. Okay. Yeah. Okay. But unfortunately, Marco, you're wrong with me. So it's an Enortap win the week with 1-0.
I predicted they would go 1-1.
Well, it's not good enough. It's 1-0-1. We are tough on that one. You have to get it. So Enortap is the only one this week. Maurice Robillard, he looked at Fortune. It was wrong. I think they won 1-1 like you, Mr. Marco. So I have everything. I have everything here.
It's all there. It's all there.
I set up everything about that one over there. The only thing is missing, Marco, from you.
Crystal ball.
I don't know if you did or not your winner of the Stanley Cup.
No, I didn't.
Exactly. So I was checking my notes. I said, I don't think so. So if you can send me the position of the descending or each division and the only your top four who's going to be on the playoff at the end and plus the Stanley Cup winner versus. Make sense? King of Gamer is in the house. Eternal Render, sorry about that, is in the house. Dan Asham asked you this question. Would you trade Jake Allen?
Hell yeah.
At some point, yeah. Trade deadline time. Right offer comes along. Why not?
And Marco?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I've been pretty vocal. I still don't understand why they signed him to an extension, to be honest. Like, it's not Pierre Dorion level mismanagement in terms of what Hughes is doing here. Having 3 goalies on the roster is not ideal. But it's not like we weren't able to sign our 3rd-line center. But anyways, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I think Monta, like, the reason I would have been in favor not to trade Allen last year is I still think it's important to have at least a steady presence in goal. I wouldn't want to have like 2 brand new rookie goalies that I didn't have any confidence in at all. I still feel that way about Primo. And again, you can argue that Montembeault is maybe not a bona fide number 1 goalie, but I think he's proven that he's an NHL goaltender. So I would be confident with having Monty as playing number 1 goaltender for the next year. If you're able to get something good for Allen, then I think that makes sense. Especially if they seem to still really believe in Primo. Obviously, like, they're putting themselves through a lot of pain, to be honest. Like, keeping him there. It's well documented that goalies don't like to be in a 3-man rotation or a three goalie platoon like that. So they're putting themselves through a lot of aggravation to keep him. So obviously they still believe in him and everything else. So if that's the case, then just give him the opportunity as a backup if that's how you feel about it. But I don't think it's going to happen, to be honest. Like, it's just a lot of money, I think, for a team that's looking for a backup goalie.
Well said. We have Rick Kane in the house. Welcome back. King of Gamer is in the house. We have Reggie knock the door. Welcome, everybody. And thanks for joining us tonight. We have a couple of questions pop up about that. For me, guys, I will not trade Jake Allen for the Montreal Canadiens until next year. I would keep him all year long. Laval have problem. Watson, we have some problem in Laval, and the fact that they cannot go Laval with Man and Dobesh. So they have to figure out figure out what Primo can go to Laval. Well, we have a super chat, ladies and gentlemen. Super chat, river, chop, chop, chop. He did it again. Our friend Reggie from British Columbia back in the house. Some hype for Mr. Reggie. Thanks so much for your super chat on that one. We really kind
don't worry about Laval, Coach.
That's okay.
Just to wrap that up, Coach. Like, are you telling me that even if you could get something of value for Allen, you still wouldn't do that? Right now,
he's not going to get value for Jake Allen.
If you could get a 3rd-round pick,
not him alone, Coach. There's
what?
Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised right now. Not to
which team in our top can get a $3.8 million salary cap.
Yeah, but it has to be part of a package. You're right. On one, you're not gonna do
but
much.
What about the trade example, Joshua Webb with Jake Allen?
But if you're taking back a contract, though, Coach.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
If you're taking back a contract, like a bad contract coming back the other way with a pick, then you could make that work.
If you get a bad contract, yeah, but it's not an advantage for Montreal to do that.
Well, yeah, if they get a pick with it, so if a team wants Allen either because I don't know their number like a Tampa situation, right, where their number 1 is hurt for a period of time, they have a backup, but they want to kind of go with.
But what would be the advantage for Montreal to trade Jake Allen?
The pick, gather assets.
Which I said they don't get anything.
No,
you get a bad contract.
No, you take the bad contract, but then the team is also including a pick with the bad contract.
You get a 4, 5, 6 round pick in return.
I don't think but then you're right. In that scenario, then it's not worth it, right? But to me,
That's my
the
point
minimum,
behind that. You're not trade Jake Allen. You're not going to trade Jake Allen because Montreal have no goalies after that. They have
what
nobody. Are
I
you
think
going to go with Primo and Montembeault for the season? I don't think so. I don't think so. Montreal want to do that.
why not?
look, there's a reason why Primo's staying up here right now. And it's not just about losing him. I think that there's something in the works in terms of a possible trade that fits Montreal's plans for the future. And, without, boistering it out, look towards Nashville. Askarov is still not off the map. This guy could be involved in a trade. I think Montreal wants him. He has 2 more years of control, at which point you can put him down to Laval for a while. You can also include Primo with a couple of other players in that package going back to Nashville who is looking to retool. And that addresses their issues because he's not going to succeed Saros as long as Saros is in that net for the next 3, 4,
Ascaros
5
is not
years.
ready in our tap for 2 years.
That's why. That's why you have control over him for 2 years. So you put him down in Laval. You keep Allen with Montembeault for now.
No. Why Nashville would trade Ascaro?
Well, it depends what the return is, Coach.
Well, you have to give Caden Cooley in
You're
return.
going to have to, and maybe that's something that you're going to have to open yourself up to. If you feel that Askarov could be the goalie of your future and he fits into the plans to timeline-wise with where everybody else is, then it's something that you're going to have to pull the gun. That's why you build up all these picks and all these prospects. And now we have 7 to 9 players in Laval that are not playing on a nightly basis. Like, something has to be done at this stage.
But if you're Nashville, why I will trade Askarov?
Because it's like Montreal, Coach. Like they have
But what I will keep a goaltender 31, 32 years old versus a young guy for 23 is going to be a star. He's going to be maybe better to Saros. So maybe the one that why I will, as a GM for the Nashville, what I would do that.
Because I think Nashville is more in a win now mode, Coach. Like, don't forget, Trotz is a guy who, like, I don't think he's going to handicap the future necessarily to win now, but he's a young GM. He's a first-time GM. He wants to make an impact, right? So I think Saros, is he 31? I thought he was like in his late 20s. How old is Saros?
Yeah, me too. I thought he was about 30 at the most.
Yeah,
but anyway, he's going to be around for a while. Yeah. He's very.
So the reason we do that is because it's like Montreal. You have a surplus in one area of your team, and you want to liquidate that one strength in order to build out an area of weakness. So for Nashville, there's a lot of areas of weakness, but goaltending is not one of them. I don't think defenseman necessarily is necessarily one of them. Like, although, even though Nashville, when you think Nashville, you think stud defenseman, and yes, they have Yossi, but I think that it's kind of thinned out over the years here, right? Like, especially after they lost Ekholm. So, maybe a Gouli or whatever it is. Yes, it's going to be a big asset, but to me, those are ideal trading partners, right? Like, you have one team that has an asset or a surplus in a category that the other team has and that the other one doesn't. Montreal, the surplus that we have is wingers, mid-sized, skillful wingers that are close to being to NHL, and left side defensemen. That's the surplus that Montreal has.
Exactly.
And Nashville has a surplus in goaltending resources. So it's not
by the way, Saros is only 28 years of age. So this guy's not coming out of the Nashville net for the next 5 or 6 years.
He's 29 years old, right?
He's 28, and he's still.
Well, he turned 29 this year, right? So
not yet.
So the goaltender become Enortap worse after 30 years old. So it's not going to get better. It's going to be worse. It's not the right direction for Saros.
Sometimes.
But if you look about all the stats in NHL, Jake Allen is a great example. But all the goalies, after they hit the 30 years old, the goal again average, the save percentage drop. Not like from 91 to 89. but they constantly drop year after year. This is proven in NHL. Point behind that is, for me, this is going to be a big mistake from Barry Trotz right there.
But like again, coach, you have to look at
because you don't trade a player with not reached his full ceiling yet.
Look at your return. You have to look at the return, coach. As Marco's saying, sometimes you have to.
Okay, what would be your trade for Askarov? What? Give me your trade prospect for that one. Would you say? I would say yes or no to you. What would be your trade?
To start off, they would want a goalie back, so you give them Caden Primo. You'd have to throw in there.
Why they want Primo? I don't want Primo. It's not a goalie in the NHL.
Well, who do they have besides that then?
They have the rookie. They have some rookies. They have other goalie. I don't want Primo in return. Anyway, you give it to me. That's fine. I would take Primo and send back in my with Rockford. All right, next.
Yeah. To start off, and then you'd have to look at your prospects, and you have an abundance of wingers. You have an abundance of left-handed.
So
defensemen.
I'm going to give you my proposal for you. I want Caden Cooley. I want Caden Cooley. I want Caden Cooley. I want Caden Cooley.
Let Marco
right there.
Let Marco give it.
I want a first-round pick and return the Calgary Flames.
Okay.
All right, and then I'm going to ask Joshua Roy and with that deal.
That's not what they want, coach. So you have to think about where is Nashville, right? Like I mentioned, Barry Trotz is a new GM. Relative amount of pressure in that market for them to get back in the playoffs to be competitive. I don't think they're in a rebuilding mode. They want players that can come in and play right away. So here would be my proposal to you. So we don't know how they evaluate Primo. Maybe they think he's a legitimate, like, potential backup. Maybe slightly above, like hard to say. But I would try to include Primo. I would then include Dvorak because he's like they're.
I don't need Dvorak. I don't want to play 29 years old. I would say no to you right away. I would ask you Josh Anderson.
But no, I just told you that. So if you look at Nashville's lineup, they need centers. They are very, very low on centers.
I would go with Josh Anderson. I don't need center right now. I'm telling you right now because Dvorak don't fix my problem. He's not a top 6 players.
Yeah, it does. It does for sure. Because have you seen Nashville's lineup? They need a third line center that can play an NHL caliber third line center that can eat up minutes, play like both ways on the side of the puck. They don't care about the future as much as you think, Coach. Barry Trotz wants to win.
So you send me Chris Dvorak. After that, who do you send me?
Yeah, so let me finish. Okay, so far, I've got Primo. I'm giving you Dvorak. Then I'm going to throw in whatever kind of like not Roy, but like another kind of like youngish winger, like maybe like a Farrell or somebody like that. And then I'm throwing you Harris or like one of the left-handed defensemen that arguably can play in the NHL right now.
Caden Cooley.
I don't know if you're doing Cooley, then I'm not throwing in a high-end pick. If I'm doing Harris, then I'm okay doing a second-round pick.
But now you contredis qu'est-ce que tu dis le contraire qu'est-ce que tu me dis. Tu disais en premier, ils ont besoin de gagner. They need to win right now. But now you send me Harris a first-round pick. They need more. I'm telling you right now, Askarov costs you a Caden Cooley, a minimum Caden Cooley, a Josh Anderson, because you just said, it makes sense when you said they need to win or they need to that direction. It makes sense to me. So I would need Josh Anderson, Caden Cooley, a first-round pick in return. That's the cost Askarov.
I think you're overvaluing him, Coach. Like that, those are 3 really
Askarov?
big. Yeah.
Yeah. He hasn't proven anything.
Now, wait a minute. I'm going to finish this very quickly. On the best goaltender prospect in NHL, what do you see Askarov? Top
Probably
3,
third.
top 5, top 10, top 15?
3 to 5 in the top 3 to 5.
That's chin-chin. That's cost a lot of money in return.
I get, but not 3 blue chip prospects for 1 blue chip prospect. That's what you're saying. You're saying a first round pick, a former first round pick, a top 9.
Josh Anderson, Caden Cooley, a first round pick.
I don't think you would need to do the first round pick in that case, Coach.
I think they would want the Primo as their backup as well.
Well, give it to me, Primo. That's fine. You know what I mean?
Okay. So I think you're close. Maybe it's Cooley and Anderson, but you can't underestimate the fact that, first of all, like we know that a lot of Western GMs still value Dvorak more than some GMs in the Eastern Conference. You can't undervalue the fact that Dvorak has a very, very reasonable contract as well too, and Nashville does have some salary cap issues. Either way, I think it's an interesting
Sorry,
discussion.
Marco.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to add. I mean, you had the interesting conversation with Marco D'Amico. How about if you throw Matheson in that equation? There's victory right now. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Matheson plus a forward, Dvorak. You give him Caden Primo and a second or a third.
No, I said no to you. I said no to you. Mike Matheson is not a top pairing defenseman. He's a second pairing defenseman.
He doesn't have to be a top pairing defenseman.
You're arguing
they have Yossi there.
That's the point. That's the point behind that. He's going to be my second pairing defenseman. Why I would put him the star for you guys to give it to me? That's not good enough.
But it solidifies your defense.
Yeah.
You have now. Sure. You're going to have 4 solid defensemen on there.
I think Matheson is a really.
So
good
you're going to put Mike Matheson in front of Ryan McDonald?
No, but you could play McDonough.
So now he's become my third pairing defenseman.
No, you can, because Yossi's a right-handed right shot.
He plays on the left D.
Okay, but he's a right-handed
shot. Right? It's Ozzy, McDonald, and Fabro. Is that Fabro? Yeah. Forward is Boston. I always mess up both of them.
We have Cormier, I think. Is it Cormier?
Yeah, Cormier maybe now. Yeah.
It's another right-hand shot.
Anyhow, we don't go to trade Allen right now because now people are everywhere now. I lost the contract about everything. Everything. They have a lot of conversation. Welcome in the house, everybody. Thanks to be with us tonight. We appreciate that. My only comment about the game yesterday, guys, I will say to you, World Pack. Something it really reflect for me is like everything happening for Toronto with Montreal, whatever who it is, Cole Caulfield or I think it was Montembeault or Allen, they already jumping from left and right. So the World Pack for the Montreal Canadiens. Other comments, guys, in the chat. We're going to go continue the subject we got tonight. If not, we're going to be all night long here. I apologize, but great conversation, everybody. For everybody here in the chat, we're going to pick it up if we have something with pick up observation with perhaps some insider for Mr. Enortap and Mike D. Here we go. You pick another goalie and you play for Allen. Saro's 28 years old. Luciano, yep. But sell high. Not sure. Add much on the sell ice right now. Usually not hype to sell low. About this, what do you think of the return for Monahan, Randy? About that, we're going to get this, guys, a little bit later, if you don't mind. Moving together somewhere in the package and prediction. About that, don't place the trade. So, guys, again, I mean, Cooley, Doris Funk, I agree with you. Welcome in the house. Welcome back, everything. Pasta Primo for Askarov for that one over there. People are fire up, everything like that. Everything. So let's move on.
Can of worms, but
go ahead.
That's good.
No, I said I didn't mean to open up a can of worms, but that's what I'm hearing.
We didn't even talk about Carter Hart being a restricted free agent next summer.
That's true too. Yeah, good point.
He's a RFA, right?
Restricted, yeah.
Weekly recap, guys. Record at 1-0-1. Toronto lost and shootout 6-5. Montreal beat the Chicago Blackhawks 3-2. And I would like to ask you that one, not this one, but here. I apologize. I have too many graphic left and right, but we're going to get it. I would like to hear everybody in the chat and you guys. We'll start with Marco on that one. The app weekly recap. Every week, we're going to give you 2 questions. The first is the stood out of the week for the Montreal Canadiens. And I would like for the people in the chat give us your answer. Which player do you think is really step up the star of the week, we're going to say, for the Montreal Canadiens? So, Marco, you're on the first on that one.
Well, I think, maybe it's, shiny new toy syndrome, but like for me, really impressed with Newhook, and for the first week, like just, it was just exciting to see kind of what he looked like in the lineup. And so, yeah, for me, I think he has a lot of potential to be a really useful player for Montreal down the line. Just I think, having Newhook in the lineup made me realize that we didn't have enough speed in the lineup. You just kind of see him pick up the puck, and when I say speed, it's not only just his skating, but his quickness of execution. Right, like there's a couple times in the preseason, and even the first two games, where there was a kind of like a loose puck, either at the blue line, the offensive blue line, or even in the neutral zone, and he's very quick to kind of like transition back, and when he gets going, he's like really, really fast. Right, so to me, he really stood out. Good chemistry, obviously, with Doc and Slavkovsky before Doc went down. But then, listen, like I think he has the potential to be a very, very useful asset for Montreal, like a really kind of like Swiss Army knife-ish kind of guy, where he can play center, can play wing. I can definitely see him somebody that's going to be able to kill penalties. So really, really kind of impressed with him so far this week. That to me, that's kind of yeah, but again, it's because he's the shiny new toy, right? Like he's the one guy that if you look at the overall change season to season, we pretty much have the same lineup as last year. For a team that finished that low, it's kind of surprising actually that we pretty much still have the same lineup. So I was really focused on him, and I was happy with what I saw.
He's the only new addition, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Newhook has definitely added a different dimension to the team. It parallels some of, about three or four other players that have extremely good speed on Montreal right now as well. I've also been not surprised, but glad that he's lived up to it as well. We knew he would be, but Monahan, and he's played extremely well, given the fact that he started off on the third line as well. So he's made the best of whatever situation's been thrown his direction. And third, I would probably. I mean, I would have said before yesterday Slavkovsky. I thought he really stepped it up with the Toronto game, but yesterday was sort of a return back to normal. Not that it was a bad outing for him, but we have to give him time, and so
He
that'll
was very
take.
physical. Right? Like he didn't
Yes, he
create as
was.
much. Like he was on the body a lot, man. Like so, I like that. Like to me, some of the players that I've always had the least excitement about, or the ones that I get really upset watching, are players that are one dimensional, right? Because it's not going to be every game where you're on and things are happening for you, right? So if you're the kind of
That's
player that can at
Anderson.
least, yeah, if you can contribute in one other way, if things are just not going well for offensively, but if you're lay the body, then I love to see that, right? Like things weren't going his way, but he was still able to contribute in some way. That's really good.
Yeah, yeah.
We talk like guys in the chat. I listen both of you. It's rare. Just kidding. But they talk about New Hook. You know what? You compare New Hook with Ski Caulfield, that same age area of dark, right? New Hook is in front of them about the details of the game. Like
Yes.
if you, like what you learned with Colorado Avalanche, right? I can see this already in front of compared. Not say he's a better hockey player. I just said what he go around that team. He learn quicker, faster. It's fun thing of the details of the game. That's something I really pay more attention this week. Whatever it was not on the score sheet yesterday. He did play. He did a good game. Look, the pass he did behind him between to Cole Caulfield from the wall. A pass from Slavkovsky before that. Great point about
He's
this.
always on the right
At the end of the day, for me, it's the money. And I don't know if I cut one of you. I apologize if I did. But for me, it would be a Monahan for my player that stood out of the player of the week. Consistency and I
Leadership.
think I would not trade Monahan if he continues to play like this all year long. I would keep Monahan. I think you need a player like him and the lineup for the Montreal Canadiens.
I understand what you're saying, Coach, and I don't disagree with that. But I think it's one of those things where you have to sort of weigh all your options. And unfortunately, he is an individual that gets injured frequently. And
it's a mirage. Don't get
Yeah.
tricked, Mirage. It's a mirage.
Yeah.
So here's
Nice
my point behind that. No, I understand your point of view. But I would said I don't know the agreement of the contract yet. Okay, I don't want to say, uh, I will not sign him for $6 million. It's not the point. It's not about the money. It's about the players. If you remove
Yeah.
Monahan, if you remove Dvorak, now who are your center?
Yeah,
you're right.
for sure. Like I think we still you've got Suzuki and Doc are your two number one, are your two top centers, right? Everybody seems to think that Beck is going to be potentially a third line center in the NHL, but that's for me, like what I saw from this year, I think he's going to need a year in Laval as well for me, anyways. So I think Beck is a couple years away. So you need a bit of a bridge as a third line center, but I don't think Monahan is necessarily the guy that you would want as a third line center necessarily. Like, I trust me, I like Monahan, but like you said, Coach, and we had this discussion early at the beginning of the year. For me, it's not necessarily the money that would worry me about Monahan; it's the term. I would not go like
It's
so
the
I'll be
health.
on the record. You guys, I've said this. This is if I was a GM, this is my philosophy when it comes to signing older players. If I'm concerned about their wheels falling off, meaning their skating is not elite, at 30 years old, that's a no for me. I don't care how creative they are, how well they think the game, how hard they work, like Gallagher, for
Yeah.
example. If their skating is not elite, that's why, again, I've said this before. I didn't mind that they signed Jeff Petrie till he was like 35 because his skating is amazing. So even if the offensive numbers go down, which they usually do, at least he can still be a utility player, kill penalties, get around the ice, be positionally strong. Skating is the key thing for me when you're signing older players. Sean Monahan, his skating is not elite level right now. So for me, it's term. If it's 2 years, but I don't think Monahan's going to sign for 2 years. So I don't know if that's a good idea.
And he gave you a discount this year. He's not going. If he has a good year, he's not going to. No way he goes for that rate again.
Yeah.
He's basically betting on himself this year to stay healthy, to produce, and draw another contract, whether it's 2-3 years down the road with whether it's with Montreal or it's with somebody else. But more than likely, it'll be with somebody else.
If you look about the pass of him, the maximum year he can get for me is a 3 years contract.
Yeah,
That
sounds right.
That I don't know if I'm doing that, Coach.
All right, and
I don't know.
the time the time we're not ready yet. We're not ready yet. With Monahan, what the beauty of Monahan, he gave option to Martin Saint Louis to put winger, center, move near hook up, move up and down. He
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
security about the team they don't have. If you put Monahan out of the lineup, we don't have any player close to Monahan.
I get it.
No one is close about Monahan. Now, when you compare the speed of Gallagher versus Monahan, I would say to you it's two different case between of them.
Mhm.
Look Robitaille when he play. It was not fast.
Yeah, but
It
it's
was
a
the
different
fastest,
game,
but
Coach.
he was smart. He was really
It's a
smart
faster game.
because his IQ and hockey sense are very good. Gallagher is IQ hockey sense. It's not like it's not the smartest hockey player in the hockey, right? So you have only one way, Gallagher, is go straight to the net and crash to the net, and that's it. I stay there, I hit, I can receive it, everything like that. Monahan, he opens space. He's a playmaker. He's a driver. And I think for me, the speed for Monahan is not like my big fact, my big, red flag. It would be more about the injury concern about him. That's the
And
reason
then
maybe a 2 years contract will be something. I won't be extended 3 years, but I will drop the money and get him back to him. But that will fix my
Assuming he
problem in
wants
the
that.
lineup. He got hit. He got hurt. No big deal. Going to the long-term injury reserve, it's not end of the world. But if I wouldn't be concerned to have Dark, Zuski, and New Hook as a center. Because at the bottom, and don't expect Jake Ivan to be there the next 2 years. So they're going to lose maybe 3 center now, Monahan, Evans, and Dvorak.
yeah, but so again, Coach, like Couple things. So I get the Luc Robitaille reference, but it's a totally different game today. Like it's a way faster game than it ever has been.
But he was slow.
But
He was slow still the game.
yeah, yeah.
That's my point
But
behind that.
I get it. I
Even
trust me. I get the reference, and I get what you mean. But like he even now, like so, yes, today Monahan does give Saint Louis those options. Right? If you could frame Monahan and snapshot him into what he is right now at this moment, I agree with you 100%. But he's just one more hip injury away, not just from being on LITR, but then affecting his mobility and speed even more. Right. So again, I've yet to be wrong in the philosophy about signing a veteran player based on skating. Like it seems to be a pretty reliable factor to look at when you're going to be signing a veteran over the age of 30. It's something that I would really stick to. If but again, it
unless
depends what the number is.
unless
Depends what
unless
the
you're Corey Perry. Unless you're
yeah
Corey Perry, it's
yeah,
about the only one.
but you're playing him on
But
your
it's
fourth line, right? You're like
yeah, and he's a physical energy kind of guy that
yeah.
is
Yeah, but I'm talking like you're not signing Corey Perry to be like Petrie, like the example I gave. You're giving him money to be in your top four defensemen. If you're signing Monahan to be at $4 or $5 million for 3 years, you're signing him in to be a center or maybe a winger on your top nine. Corey Perry
yeah,
like was on bargain deals with Montreal and Tampa, and then the only reason that Chicago, but they're paying him like $4 million for the next 2 years. The only reason they did that is to get up to the ceiling or to the floor of the salary cap, right? So
yeah.
yeah, of course there's exceptions to that rule. If
Of
they're going to
course,
play
yeah.
very specific roles on your team. So if you're signing Monahan to play on your fourth line over 3-4 years, okay, but I don't think that that's really what they would have planned for him.
Yeah, I agree.
Mark, you talk about Jason Spezza.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great. But they weren't expecting, Toronto wasn't expecting, like, look at Spezza in Dallas versus Spezza in Toronto. It's a perfect example.
But
He was
look, Joe
getting paid.
Pavelski.
Well, Joe Pavelski can still skate.
Pavelski's got speed. He's got speed.
No,
He's
Yeah.
no.
not
My
slow.
point, because we talk about the contract, like Joe Pavelski got a deal at 3 years, a deal at $3 million, whatever it is. For me, I
Yeah,
would get money on me at $4 million for 3 years.
Mm.
it's a lot of
I think you'd
years.
regret that one. I think you'd regret
Who do you
like
want at the third line, four line? Do you want Owen Beck or you want Sean Monahan when you go to the playoff?
Yeah,
I think when
agreed. But that's I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is more what's best for the team over the course of the next 2 to 3
Owen Beck or
years.
Sean Monahan for the best for the team?
I don't think Sean Manahan's going to be an effective player by the time Montreal's ready to be in the playoffs.
That will complete his 3 years contract.
Exactly. Like I think maybe they're kind of like in 3 years from now they're going to be
Exactly,
exactly
Marco. For me, Monahan, it would be the transition what Savard, Allen do right now, do for the Montreal Canadiens.
It's a big gamble.
yeah.
You know what I
It's a
mean?
big
Like you
gamble.
talk about face off, you talk about potential, you can
It's
switch
about
him.
health.
For me, that would
I
be
don't
very
want
important
to
about
give the
that.
impression, by the way, I don't want to give the impression that I don't like Sean. I love Sean Monahan as a player. I think he's going to be a really, really good asset for Montreal. I'm just really nervous on it
Long
depends on
term.
the term and money, right? Like
Yeah, the
I
key
just
behind that is the money, is the contract. That's why I said at the beginning, forget the money, the contract, right? That's the point
I,
behind that.
I would even say it's just the health, period. The health is the biggest issue.
Here we go. The next question for everybody in the chat. The app weekly recap. Most concerned after 2 games. We saw with Marko, I believe. We saw with you and Enortap for the last one.
I went first last time.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me think. I mean, I would say. I mean, again, it's only 2 games to base it on, but I'm looking towards the defense right now, and I haven't seen a great improvement just as of yet from Harris. Gooley is probably in the same fold. again, it's not that Goulet's been horrible or anything like that, but I was expecting the next step. And maybe, again, we're talking early, and that may come as he gets more experience under his skates. But right now, those two seem sort of the ones that surprise me in terms of not being where they are or should be.
Yeah, Enortap, I find you're so hard on the young D. Like we talked about this last week. Like,
Yeah, they take time. I get that, Marco. But what I'm looking at is show me what you had last year and a little step forward. Like
but
we've
if
seen it with some other ones. I've seen it with Kovacevic. I've seen it
So who you
with.
talking about? I'm sorry, not that I was reading with the chat
I'm saying,
people.
yeah, I was saying right now, Goulet. I was expecting just a little bit better out of him. And again, I know it's early. Um, but he's one of them. And Harris, I'm not gonna really dog on him too much because they've asked him to be on the right side,
Yeah,
and it's not an easy transition. And if anybody can do it, it's him because he's very cerebral type of player. I don't think he'll hurt you, but again, just a little bit increased or um, improvement in his game. I was expecting as well.
So this is what we were debating about last week, but I'll say it again, right? And it kind of ties into what I'm most concerned about. So, Enertap, when you like, it seems like the way that you look at it is you see the D men struggling in certain situations, but when I see them struggling, I see it more as a symptom of the overall 5-on-5 play of the team and the awkward position that puts them in, right? So when you see Gooley
That's true.
when you see Gooley struggle, when you see any of them really like struggle and they get stuck somewhere, it's because, and here's for me the thing I'm most concerned about is Suzuki, to be honest, and for the first two games. Because again, we're seeing, I mentioned it off the top, undisciplined penalties, right? Two offensive zone penalties. Lots of times where I see him, I call it poke and hope, right? Like instead of being on the right side of the puck, he's kind of like cheating a little bit. Caulfield too, right? Like I was hoping to see a little bit more complete play from those two.
I
A lot of
disagree
times
with you completely. Zuski is always at the goal line. He picked up the puck 4 times yesterday.
in the neutral zone, though, coach, not necessarily like does come back in his own zone, but it's like subtle plays in the neutral zone sometimes where he's not on the right
For
side of
me,
the
is
puck.
that when the back checking is hard for him. Like he won his back check, and most of the time, Marco, I would said those two kids you talk about, the biggest problem is the TOI. They stay too long on the ice. This is really where I think they need to learn more. And many of them, I not only point this, but I understand your point of view, but en neutral zone. But I think the TOI and the second period, we talk all the time. We talk many
Yes.
times about the second period. They stuck on the ice because they refused to go on the bench after 30 seconds.
Well,
Yep.
he
So
was the top forward yesterday, and he played
yeah,
18 and a half minutes.
yeah,
That
that
shouldn't
makes
be
sense.
happening.
Well, because Doc was injured, right? So you picture that his minutes would be a little higher than a normal game because he was kind of double shifting him at certain points. But to me, that's the overall concern for me is again, like I know it's not the sexy thing to say, but if we want the team to be successful long term, again, it's early season, all the concepts are still kind of taking hold and everything. But I'm not. I think the defense core itself is doing just like, are they perfect? No, but I think I'm happy with kind of how they're playing overall. Like I think that their plays have been good, but it's just overall. Again, like I invite you, if you go, I've watched both games twice. I went back and watched replays of the game just to kind of reconfirm some of the things that I was seeing that caught me the first time. And it's when you really look at it closely, like the times where they get stuck in their zone, you're right, coach. The TOI, they just don't have enough energy. They're cheating at certain times to get out of the zone a bit early, and then that puts so much pressure on the young D men, and then they just get stuck in their zone, especially in the second period. So to me, that's the thing that I'm most concerned about. Is I just want them to really kind of start to work on the fundamentals here, because for me that's the important thing this year, right? Like even if they score less goals, like we talked about this before, like Would you be mad if Caulfield only scored 34 goals but was like +4 this year? I think that would be the right thing rather than scoring 46 goals and being -18. I would be much happier with that. Now, fans in Toronto might, chirp us and say, "Oh, you guys thought Caulfield was going to score 50 this year. He only scored 33." I don't care. If he scores 33 and he's +4 this year, I'm a happy camper versus him scoring 40, 46 and being -18. Those are the kind of things that I want them to value as a team more so than just personal kind of objectives and stuff like that.
Enortap?
No, I said mine. I mean, I would even add on the defensive side, Matheson as well has not been overly impressive, but he's had to log a lot of time as well, and that's problematic right now.
Oh yeah, you start with you talk about no. What about Gallagher? I'm shocked about that.
That's the obvious one, right? Like
that's obvious, though. That's obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say Anderson to a lesser degree, but
no way. I think Anderson's been one of the probably really like Anderson was so good last game. Like really, I thought Anderson's been really good the first 2 games. Coach, how did you feel about Anderson the first 2 games? I thought he was really solid.
No, Anderson was good. Was great for the Montreal Canadiens the first 2 games for sure. I have a player though. For me, is David Savard. For me, is my biggest concern about that. Both analytic data, he's the worst for Montreal Canadiens. This is not a good sign. He got beat many times. He's remind David Savard 2 years ago. Remember, like the first year when he was in Montreal, he struggled a lot, and I'm a little bit concerned about him. Now, it's a 2 game. We're not going to panic here, right? We're going to talk about this next weekend, but next Sunday. But I feel for me, it's a little bit concerned about David Savard. A little bit what you said, Mr. Enortap, right? Cooley, Harris, and for all the players we have,
Matheson.
Right? For all the players we have, the second year, some of them are going to feel it. Some of them it's not going to be perfect. And I don't know which one is going to be that one of them. I would like to hear from you guys what you think about the performance of Albert Jacquet.
Guys, I invite you to go, like next game. I invite you to really. So, if you just look at the end result, that look, Goulet had a turnover. Oh look, Savard was beat on that play or whatever, right? But look at the underlying reason why that play happened, and it's usually not just the bad read by a defenseman. If it was just bad reads and like bad choices that the D-men were making, and I'm not saying they never do them, but saying
they were Marco. Like I understand what you're saying. It partly is the system and the forwards not fully helping out in key situations. But I mean, you look at some of the goals that they allowed. I mean, you left the goalies out in the wilderness there, like that Matthews goal where he got that puck. He had half an hour to bring it around and score on Allen to tie the game there. I mean, that was because the defense missed their assignment, right? They missed their assignment and they were.
But you're looking at the end of the play, like that was the end of the play, but that was part of a much larger sequence. Why was the puck not cleared 20 seconds ago when Monahan had the ability to clear it out?
He was tired.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, right? Is ultimately
is that the one he diving? Is this someone diving to try to put the puck outside?
No. I mean, they shouldn't have been tired. That Leaf game, the first goal they scored immediately as they pulled the goalie, so they weren't tired. It came off of a face-off. And they shot the puck in and quickly they scored. And the second one, yes, it was cycled a couple times and the defense was probably tired. But, I mean, they had opportunities to clear the puck. And it wasn't just forwards. It was also defensemen as well. And they didn't do it properly. And that was a concern.
From what I remember, it was, listen, like, all I'm saying is that you guys have definitely pointed the defensemen. I'm not saying they're perfect. Like, of course they can play better, right? But from what I've seen, anyways, is it's kind of, think of it as a grease trap in a restaurant. Like when you're cooking on the grill and all the grease goes through the grease trap like a filter. That to me, that's what the defensemen are, right? Like they get right at the end, and they're catching all the grease, right? Like they're the last filter. So if you're not kind of doing your job well before that, then they're the last line of defense before the goaltending. So, listen, they're not perfect, but to me, it's more the overall kind of team play that needs to improve. And maybe it's tactical, like I said, like man on man defense. This is something that we're gonna have to watch to see, and if this is gonna work for this kind of team, right? So a lot of open questions about what's going on with this team defensively.
I want to change the subject. We hit the 9 to 10:30, so we're going to pick it up. A lot of great comments in the chat. Thanks so much, everything. Because Zeb, we talk about 20 minutes about everything positive before that, Zeb. That's the reason behind that. So we have to move, to have to go on the positive and the negative at the same time, Zeb.
You got to come earlier, Zeph.
About that one there. No problem, Roy. Welcome in the house. And go from there. Montreal Canadiens, what do you think will happen with Caden Primo and Philippe Mazar? Mazar, not looking good over there too with Laval Rocket. Laval Rocket lost 2 games this weekend, 7-4 Friday night and 4-3 Saturday. They moved some kind of players. There are 9 players out of the lineup every game, and it's a little bit concerned about the fans, everything like that. But Montreal have 2 things, I think, right now. They are relief you have to figure out. It's Caden Primo first and Philippe Mazar. So one of you pick one of them, and then the other one pick the other players. What would be your expectation for what there would be the next move for those players?
Well, I kind of spoke about Primo a little bit earlier. So maybe, I don't know, Marco, do you want to tackle Mazar?
Sure.
I just see right now discontent player, and there's an overabundance of forwards right now in Laval, and he's caught right in the middle of this. So they're going to have to figure something out in terms of where his landing point is going to be, because he needs to get into the right mindset yet again.
So one thing I was surprised, I was watching the Rocket game, and they were mentioning that they were playing Abbotsford Canucks, right? So the Vancouver farm team, and apparently most AHL teams carry this many players. So I don't follow AHL as closely, but I believe Abbotsford Canucks also had 8 extra forwards on their lineup as well too. So it's not 100% unusual. Like I think there are a lot of teams that carry a lot of extra personnel. Like in the AHL, there is no limits to how many extra players you can carry. So it's maybe not as unusual as we look at it because we pay very close attention to the prospects that Montreal has, and we're wondering why aren't these guys playing? But maybe it's a bit more common than we know in the AHL for that to happen. That being said, I'm not sure that Vancouver had a former first round pick sitting, on the first game of their opening season in the AHL. That is a bit of a concern. Like Machar is a former first round draft pick. So to me, and even Mishak, I won't go on about Mishak. It seems like every week I'm making a case as to why I think he should be getting a little bit more ice time. He did get to play in the second game for Laval, which was good. But Machar, you're right, Coach. Like in the first game, they didn't play Mishak or Machar. In the second game, they played Mishak, but Machar still didn't crack the lineup after they lost 7-4. So what is that saying about Jean-François Hull and how he's valuing Machar at this point? To me, he needs to play, right? So I'm not sure OHL is necessarily. I like the fact that at least it's in North America, and there's he's still playing on the same size rink, and there's a lot of travel. So I like that he stays in North America if he goes back to the OHL, but I could also see an argument for him to go play against men in Europe as well too, right? So I'm hoping that the player development staff really is working closely with him in terms of what a plan should be for him on what he needs to work on this year to kind of move his progress forward. So we have to have confidence in the player development team here to figure out what is the best path for him, because I think we can all see that there doesn't seem to be really a path for him at Laval this year. Like even Jared Davidson didn't get to play. He only got to play one of the games, and he, out of all the prospects we saw in the camp, like I think we all agreed he looked pretty close to NHL ready to me, like in terms of skating, and just his decision making overall. So if a guy like Jared Davidson, who's older, like almost 2 years older than someone like Philip Machard, isn't playing in the opening game lineup, I just don't see a path for him in Laval. Question is, what's the best landing place for him for this season? I don't know. We'll have to see.
One thing Luc said is right. 12 years start next week. So yeah, maybe one or two players can go play in the East Coast Hockey League about that. For Mézard, for me, is only about what they said to him before, and then what would be the best for him. Is it better for him to have TOI play or to be around the Laval Rocket to have those kind of development with assistant coach like Adam Nicolas, everybody, like each one of them. Now they maybe expect like, we're good to keep him. Because they cannot back him down, right? So they cannot send him an OHL, then the next week he bring back an American Hockey League. It's not like when you go down, you go down. It's not like they cannot come back. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So they maybe expect, like, we'll see after 1 to 3 weeks if we have injuries, But at the end of the day, they have to think about what is the best benefit for him if he's going to be in an OHL or play in American Hockey League, or maybe with like 12 years at the beginning, East Coast Hockey League, or to send back in the European, like Claude, example. They just said Ray Barker, he played there because they have a great...
We didn't talk about that, Coach. We didn't talk about Reinbacher got injured and didn't play the...
Yeah, we're not there yet, but Ray Barker is one got hurt during the week for that. I did not hear anything about that. I don't know if someone heard about that injury.
Just know that he didn't play the next game.
He did not play, no. Dean Fraser, you forgot to speak about the Jacky coach.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
We also didn't talk about Harvey Pinard getting sent to Laval. Coach, are you still on that train?
I said wait, and the only reason we said that, and I thought
was a much better game,
is because of the waiver situation. That's the only thing it could happen.
Yeah,
it was not about the performance of the players. It was nothing about the player.
Yeah. Well, no, you guys last week you guys were like, he didn't really have that strong of a game. I'm like, are we watching the same game? Like, he had a lot of good details in his game. He played, I think, an even better game last game, but I liked him in Toronto too.
You know what? What for me, Marco, is a maybe, and the consistency would tell that the number of games he's going to play would tell us more. He's a kind of player. Sometimes when they play with better players, they become better. Like they increasing the level of the hockey around him. Like he play with his ski, like he have another gear in his game. That's my point behind that. And I think he could be that player.
I think he says it himself. Every time they ask him in an interview, he says the same thing. He's like, no matter what line I'm playing exactly the same way. Even St. Louis said that. If I put out Harvey Pinard on the first line, second line, whatever, it doesn't matter. He's always playing the same way. Now, of course, if you're playing with better players, more things might
happen.
That being said,
if you have complementary players, it helps.
Yeah, it's no error that the fourth line against Toronto was probably their second best line after the Doc, Slavkovsky, and Newhook line, right? Like they had two goals. They had 2 goals in that game, and they killed lots of penalties. They were that line was really solid in that first game. And Harvey Pinard, like I think he had 2 breakaways last game, and like another chance on a. Like he was dynamic, and I just don't see how. I would just be even. I know, I get the fact that he is waiver exempt, but I just find it, like I said last week, I don't see Martin St. Louis being a very happy guy if they have to send him to Laval. Like he loves RHP, loves him, and I would too if I was a coach. That's exactly the kind of guy that you want in your lineup.
We have about 20 minutes. We'll try to wrap up a bit quicker. It's a fun conversation we can get. Weekly recap for the Montreal. Doc got hurt yesterday after a big hit from Tinordi. And look, I have some problem from the outside of the knee when he pointed to the play for the trainer from the bench. And then he limped to go back. He walked after the game That's the only thing we heard. By himself, like, but you can have an ECL in hockey and you can walk. Like, you can walk like normal. It's just you have to have a surgery. So we don't know the level of the degrees of the update about his injury. Montreal was day off today, if I can recall it properly. And we don't hear anything about that. So a couple of days, we'll see what is really the degree of the doc. We slide this. We talk a little bit, guys, about the what's next move. We talk about Pesada. From that moment, do you expect any move for the Montreal Canadiens for that? We're going to wait for this one for the Montreal. Do you expect they will call up someone or they will let just play Pesada?
So before we move off Doc, I just want to, like, for a split second, I think Doc was probably scared that he got traded back to Chicago because he was sitting on their bench, for 10 seconds. So maybe that's why he was just a little bit nervous that he was now back in Chicago. But no, Coach, I don't see.
But he did not recognize anybody.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So I don't know. I think we talked about it at the beginning. Like, I think Pizzetta slots back in against a pretty physical Minnesota team in the short term. They don't have like a long road trip or something where they need to make like a critical decision of bringing somebody with them on a road trip or anything. So I'd be surprised unless somebody else is like, if one more center does get injured though, or somebody that can play center, then immediately don't think it's going to be Joshua Roy that's going to be called up. It's going to be a center. And right now, I think you mentioned that Mayes probably, like, the first line center. He's got a little bit of NHL experience. So again, a little concerned about our depth at center in the AHL. Like in the past, like you had somebody that you could bring up, like even like if it was like who's the guy that Jordan Wheel, back in the day, who had some NHL experience that you could call up, but no Jordan Wheels or players like that in Laval this year. Like, that have a lot of NHL experience. So I think if there's somebody to be called up, it would probably be a center. I don't think Jared, who's that? That's Mitchell Stevens, I guess, is their second center right now. And I don't think Mishak or anybody like that is coming up anytime soon.
Great point, Enortap. I would move you to my next question.
Yeah.
Are you concerned about Doc prone injury? This is like third injury in 4 years. Wrist injury last year 2 times, and now he started the season with another injury. Anybody is concerned about that situation? And some player, like, they just accumulate injury. Their body cannot pick it up. And so this is my question for you.
Well, when you look at somebody like Gallagher, when he first started off for the many years, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter how much he was pounded into the ice by opposing players. He always came back. It's only until recently that we're starting to see, a consistent issue with him. And I think a lot has to do with the fact that twice he broke his hand or wrist, thanks to slap shots from Weber. I wouldn't be concerned with Doc. I think they're just it's a coincidence. They're different injuries. We still don't have an update on what this is all about. It might be nothing. I don't think it's an issue.
Marco?
There's 2 players that I'm kind of concerned on that is Gouli and Doc. The 2 things that I kind of see in common with them is that they're both really tall guys. And I know Doc is a little bit thicker and like more muscular than Gouli is. Like he's a little bit more developed. But I find that sometimes both those guys, it's kind of like, how Jake Evans sometimes puts himself like in positions where he gets injured because he's not like, doesn't have his head up and things like that. I find with Gouli and Doc, I find that sometimes when they fall on the ice, they fall in weird contorted ways, right? Like, like if you're a stuntman, they teach you how to tumble when you fall. Like you're supposed to roll on your shoulder and like, I don't know if they coach stuff like that, right? But like if you get hit, there's a way to fall on the ice or a way to kind of like take a hit. Slavkovsky is kind of the same way too, right? Like, so I'm the only concern with both Gouli and Doc is I find sometimes when they get physical contact, they don't know how to take the contact. And when they go down, like watch Goulet when he gets hit. Like sometimes like he's like a Gumby man, right? Like his body's kind of like almost sideways when he's falling. And I look at his knee and I'm like wincing. I'm like, geez, man, like you just need to learn how to fall and not injure yourself. I don't know if it's just me. So that's really like, I think Enortap's right. Like they're kind of unrelated injuries, but just overall in terms of how they protect themselves on the ice, both Goulet and Doc, I find that they just need to kind of like be a little bit more solid on their skates and figure out how to take contact.
Awesome. We have about 50 minutes. We're going to finish with the AB weekly recap for the AB prospect. First of all, Laval lost the 2 games, but one specific player stepped up for the weekend, and the fans followed the Rockets on the weekend game. And they have some kind of other injuries for the Montreal Canadiens on the week. By the way, David Rebacker is a day-to-day. We don't hear anything from them. And then we have Emil Henneman on the weekend, got a concussion, if I can recall it properly. That was the biggest concern about him for Henneman. But Joshua Roy was maybe the star for the Laval Rocket with 2 goals and 1 assist in 2 games. And he was looking good on the ice. I think he was maybe one of the best players forward. Of course, Mia have 2 goals and 1 assist also. But I really like Joshua Roy. Trudeau, Dauberge.
Trudeau.
But we need to get saved. We need to be saved. We don't see anything about Trudeau Dauberge on the weekend. We see only Joshua Roy. So, what do you think about Joshua Roy? His performance in our tabs on the weekend? I don't know if you watched both games, by the way. I'm sorry.
No, I thought he was fantastic, and for me, all the more reason why not to bring him up right now. I know it almost sounds contrary, but he's establishing a routine. He's getting that chemistry going with his line mates. He needs to develop that. And if we're talking further down the road, that's a different story. But right at the beginning, when he's experiencing that success, I don't think you tamper with it. You leave him there and just put Petzetta in next game.
Yeah. Marco, maybe other player, maybe you said on the weekend for Laval Rocket, if you watch the game, or any comments you want to talk.
Yeah. So I think you guys nailed it. Like the goaltending and Trudeau definitely had a rough weekend. But to me, the 2 kind of unheralded players that, maybe, and Mayu, by the way, I think he played well within himself too, like really strong weekend, really, controlled, I find that they're coaching him, like they're utilizing him in the right way. Like they have him on the second unit power play, not too much pressure to start off. They're really playing Norlinder on the first wave. So I like how Jean-François Houle is kind of like slowly integrating him in the pro game. And I think he did really well. Like I didn't see him be F1 on the forecheck, at any point or anything like that. Like actually playing, defense. So nice to see that from AU. But to me, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, dare I bring up Armia?
Well, yeah, listen, we know that Armia is an NHL player, right? So he should be shredding the AHL. So I think we're more focused on the prospects, right? So yeah, Armia, listen, like he had, I think 3 goals, 2 goals in one game, and I think he scored in the second game as well. So looking, Armia is awesome in the AHL. Not too much of a shock there, but 2 players for me that, from the training camp, I really like Gignac. And now that I mentioned it, Coach, like if they had to call up a center, I'm not sure I would call up Maya, actually. I think I would still call up Gignac instead. That's me. I think lots of
the point is because of the contract, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So he hasn't signed a 2-way contract, eh?
He doesn't have a contract.
Man. That's too, like, I think they need to fix that.
Same thing, people talking about Davidson, same situation with him.
Wow. Yeah. So to me, because of our depth at center this year, I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that they have to remedy at some point, because it's not impossible that we're going to need him to play up this year if there's any injuries. But other than Gignac, who I always find to be really reliable and really energetic out there, I think Struble had a really strong weekend. Like probably to me the most solid. Norlinder is very Norlinder-esque out there. Like I think he played okay, But to me, Struble really, really strong.
Oh, yeah. He was the most consistency defenseman for Laval Rocket. And talking about Mayu, we said to you, like, like some player make a like when they play, they make a presence. Whatever is good or bad, you see something from them. Like that's the charisma, maybe the Mayu on the ice. Every time he's on the ice,
Character.
he hits someone in the corner. He does afraid about anything. And for me, he was maybe with Norlander, but I would love to see Strobel and Norlander and Mayu together as a pairing. I did not watch the game number 2, so I apologize for both of you. It was during the night, so I didn't watch
You got
that
into
one.
a fight,
I
actually.
was
You
chasing
got into a
cheese.
fight in the second game, actually. In the second game, Mayu actually got into a fight, his first professional fight.
Yeah.
Did he hurt his hand? Did he hurt his hand
Yeah, well,
on that? Or?
he looked like he had a couple cuts on it, but I don't think structurally he injured his hand. But he had a couple cuts on his hand, but I think he's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good night,
It's
Nicola.
about character.
The Gobi Bono. Have a good night. About this, NHL got 4-2 Ducks with 13 minutes to go remaining on the third period. Senator Ottawa, guys, after they lost the first game, they got 2 good games back-to-back. Ottawa Senator, they're looking good so far for that one over there. So that's concluded, guys. Was just what we every week, guys, we talk about fun players happening around the prospect. I pick up all the information. It looked like a 2 goal, 2 assists from Gary. So maybe I missed one or I read somewhere. They told me only 1 assist, but good to hear that. Cedric Guindon, after he did not play well the first game, returned with 2 goals, 3 assists in the last 2 games. Is it play for the Owen Sound, Guindon?
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe so.
I think so too, right? Justin Fowler played a silly game last week, during the weekend for the Boston. Wow. Boston University, what's going on with them?
Yeah.
They lost 8-2 last night against Team USA.
Yeah.
Hudson, 0 point yesterday. But look, Doc scored 2 goals on the weekend, 1 Friday, 1 yesterday. And Melestad, I apologize, I screwed his last name, a T at the bottom. Have 2 assists back-to-back play with Minnesota. And then they are the best prospect for the Montreal Canadiens. Kapanen have a good week overall. And then that's pretty much it. The rest of the player, Armstrong did not have point, and then Rebecca got hurt. So any prospect, that's what's happening about the Montreal Canadiens. Let me check under the graphic, guys. Pick up if I have something else here after the injury here. Then I took that one over there. No, this is all good here. And then finally here, guys, I'm going to go here. Don't worry. I'm getting there. Talking about Laval, Langstrom, a very bad weekend, I believe.
Yeah. Again, that's a guy that should be he should be kind of very comfortable at that level. I overall I can't say I really noticed him that much in Detroit. He's not somebody that I watched a lot when he's Detroit, but not at all somebody that I've been impressed with at all at camp. Either up at camp, like when he was up with Montreal, or the 2 games I saw in Laval. Like he's the next Madison Bowie. Like I just don't see him really kind of having an impact on the organization here. So, kind of disappointing. Like, are there other kind of, I don't know if they targeted him specifically in that Jeff Petrie trade, like if that was, one of the prospects that they went out and tried to get for Petrie. I hope not, because I'm not seeing much from them. Like I know right-handed defenseman is a position of need for Montreal, but there's definitely way more people in Detroit's pipeline that have targeted instead of Lindstrom for sure.
Yeah.
Sound good. I appreciate that. Guys, I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, we have a special guest, Tim Turk. Hopefully, we can get 75 people to talk with Tim Turk. He's going to be with us talking about he's an NHL coach for many years. He talk about the shooting, scoring. He's a coach like this. So if you want to join us tomorrow night, 9 o'clock p.m., that would be great. Secondly, and I would promote this all week, I have a chance to get stat for NHL for the game they play Montreal Canadiens. The next morning when you wake up, I can send you the stat of the team you're cheering. So CUG, Wally Snyder, if you are a member, you can get your Colorado Avalanche stat if you want to. and I can accumulate game after game together. One game at a time, it's all open up everything. If you are listening with Toronto Maple Leaf, but you can get that kind of stat. If you have a particular team, I can send it to you on your by email. The only way to do that is to send me an email and to be sure I can get it. I can send to you after the game. Next month in November, we're not going to only send the stat. We're going to send you the highlights of the game. The software I have, the example, like I have 71 clips of the game between Chicago and Montreal yesterday. So I maybe drop at 20 for each one of you, or you can get all the goal of the game, everything like that. So I just want sharing with you. If you want to send us an email at hnlswarmup@gmail.com, put the description stat, and I will keep your email and send it to you game after game. This is for the people. So that's pretty much at the end of the show. We do a prediction of the week, and for everybody in the chat. Last week, Mr. Enortap, he was the winner. He got the 3-point he predicted for the Montreal Canadiens. And congratulations, Mr. Enortap, for that one. But me and Mr. Marko, he tried to say, hey, I was pretty good. I did the 2-point this week. But not good enough about that one over there. But when they heard that, Mr. Enortap, when he win, is a 3-point, his lead right now. Everybody and the plane. Here we go. There's all for Mr. Enortap or that one over there. So at the end of the day, guys, let's go with the weekly for this week. Montreal play again the Minnesota Wild Tuesday night, and then the Washington Capitals Saturday night. So for in the chat, guys, it's easy. You can tell us the result. You don't need to tell us the score. If you want to put the score, we're going to take all the notes and we're going to give you the result of next week. Like last week, Luc Lafortune and Maurice Robillard have a 2-point like Marko. There was the player participate. I have another one. Randy Walkman, I think he said 2 losses for the Montreal Canadiens. So anyhow, this week, we start with the winner. It's like a golf, right? The winner of the hole start the next hole. Here's the same week. The winner of the week start the next week. So, Mr. Enortap, you are going to influence everybody in the chat now with your prediction.
Okay. Well, it's going to be a tough game against Minnesota. They took a bit of a trouncing there at the hands of the Leafs. So they're going to come in. They're going to want the 2 points, and I suspect we're going to have 2 points by the end of this week.
So 1-1?
Yeah, 1-1.
All right. Marko, you don't like to do the same thing like my so now you're behind.
Luckily, I didn't have the same prognostication as him, so I don't have to be different just to be different. I think I agree on the Minnesota. I don't think Montreal matches up very well against the style of Minnesota overall. Like I think they're a heavy team, and Montreal typically doesn't do super well in those scenarios. So I'm gonna say, are we doing scores, or are we just doing?
Oh, you can do a score too. I go in there.
Oh yeah, extra points. If I embarrass myself with a score, do I get extra points if I get the score right?
Yeah.
I thought it was just
I get extra points if I get the score right.
Well, you don't get.
Right.
You are come shocked. Well, you don't get an extra point, but if you had a tie, we're going to give you the W.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll give you the score. So we'll say, we'll say 4-1 against Minnesota, and for Washington, I think they had a pretty rough start as well here too. And again, like I don't have Washington in the playoffs this year, but I still think that they're a veteran team. Is there any reason why they started Charlie Lindgren in net for their first
didn't know.
game?
I look around. I cannot find anything injury about Quimper, so I don't know why.
Yeah.
No, the only maybe it was illness, but I just see it.
No. So I have Quemper in my pool too, right? So I would be, maybe they start Lindgren again against Montreal because he's former team. But I'm going to go 0-2 for Montreal this week. Actually, I'm going to go 0-2. A little bit too strong of a start, I think. Like some of these bad habits that we've been talking about, I think we'll kind of catch up with them a little bit here. Like these are two heavy teams. Washington, obviously, with a little bit more firepower than Minnesota, but I think they're both heavy teams and teams that Montreal doesn't match up well against. Chicago and Toronto, those are not, other than Reeves and everything. Those are teams that Montreal I think can skate with and play with. So not going to be as fun of a week, unfortunately, for Habs fans.
Justin Framboise said 1-0-1 3 points for the Montreal Canadiens next week. Are very physical about that. Enortap said 1-1. Marko, you said they lost 4-1, and Washington, they lose. What is the final score?
Final score, I'll say 3-1.
3-1. So they lose both
games. You want scores?
Right? Yeah.
Do you want scores?
That might be a bit low.
Kipper is why I have a baby.
Oh, okay.
Great, so Randy. That's why I love to be in the chat like that. Here we go. Well done.
Let me change the score for what. Those are really low scoring games for this type of NHL. So let me say 5-2 for Washington. 5-2 Washington.
5-2.
Yeah.
And Enortap.
It will be 5-3 Minnesota, and it will be 4-2 Montreal in the second game.
Awesome. Coach, you go with Minnesota. Montreal lose 4-3. And again, Washington, the Montreal lost 4-3 too, but this time it's going to be a shootout.
So 1 point.
So I get 1 point. So I want to beat friend. So Marko 0, me 1, and Enortap go with 2.
2. Okay.
All right.
So
let's hope we're wrong, gentlemen. Like, it would be nice if they could, be nice, but let's hope we're wrong.
Luc Laforcine goes 0-2. François Pitt go with 1-1.
Luc always goes 0-2. It's not your quiz, Mark.
Royce Roy go with 0-2 about that one. So we're going to finish with that one over there. And we'll have next time, maybe sometime, if you don't mind, I think it'll be good. Maybe review the NHL weekly recap, like maybe a 5-10 minutes. That show, I think that would be good too. I think the people want to know a little bit what's going on around, maybe the player of the week, whatever it is, or a team looking good, looking bad. I think that would be a good way to do that. I think that would be interesting to see that. What a great night, guys. We go through this great debate about Jake Allen and the trade Askarov. Another great conversation. Pat, the people in the chat was great, guys. And we appreciate a lot. So unfortunately, if we miss some of your questions, guys, we apologize. We fly with the time. We try to respect the time for everybody in the chat, and most important thing for the people, for the co-hosts of the night. Mr. Tim Turk is back tomorrow, guys, with us. He will be back with us. François Pitt, he's at 1-1. And looked like a boring game, football, 7-6, the Buffalo Bills over the Giants. So if you want to know more, we want to thank all the moderators tonight. Luciano, it was the only one. We want to thank RG Calabo, guys. Continue to deliver great performance, guys, every night with all the information about this. We want to bet everybody over 50 likes, what we like to do every night. We appreciate a lot. But the most important thing, guys, we thanks Mr. Enortap and, of course, Marko. They still deliver every night the co-host and the weekly report, and, of course, the locker room recap. I mix both names, so I change the name for the end of the show. But the one thing we know, they are like this.
You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
That's who they are. That's the reason we call the legend Mr. Enortap, and that's the reason we call him the greatness with Marko Larabi. So both of you are again delivering great. And we want to thank everybody in the chat tonight, guys. What a great night, everybody, and appreciate a lot. Don't forget, 10:30 at Monday night. Play-by-play game Tuesday and Saturday, and the rest of the week we're going to do Montreal Canadiens Wednesday for the locker room. Thursday and Friday we do the overtime with NHL Overtime Show. And Friday is a fun night where we do the friendship quiz and the prediction of the weekend. So another great week in front of us. We crossed the 7,183 subscribers during the week. So great week again. Thanks so much. And the show is a Friday show. I think we got over 1,300, I believe it was Friday night, I believe. So it was one of the highest number of the viewers for one specific show. It was last Friday. So thanks again, everybody. You make the difference for what we do here at the Hockey Nation and the Ab Nation. But before we leave, we want to thank everybody. And of course, want to remind you, of course, be well, BL, find a way not only to dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the second half of what, Marco?
2023.
He did it again with Mr. Enortap. Had an amazing, great week, everybody. I look forward to you next Sunday. And until then, of course, Hockey Nation and the Ab Nation want to tell you one more thing. We love you, people. Had an amazing, great night, sweet dream, everybody. Thanks, Marco and Mr. Enortap.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
And we forgot the super chat we got tonight. Of course, we got a super chat of Mr. Reggie from British Columbia. Thanks so much, Mr. Reggie, to do that at the Hockey Nation show. Adam Case, what's up with Doc? It was early in the show. Thanks so much, everybody. RJ, only like per customer, Pierre Martin. Willie Snyder, I will send it to you, my friend. Your information. Look, go Abs, go. Thanks so much, my friend. I appreciate that to be the Hockey Nation show tonight. CG, if you want to get the set of the Colorado Avalanche, send me an email. François Pitt, Pierre Martin. If you want to get the email of Montreal Canadiens, let me know. And RJ want to have some stat, let me know too. Almost at the end of the song. I need to set up right here. Have a good night, everybody. Look out for soon. Have a great week, my friend. And the Avada is still 5-0. Booyah!